Leila Hormozi is one of the most successful entrepreneurs of our time, with over $150 million net worth at 30 years old. Together with Alex Hormozi, she runs acquisition.com, scales companies from 10 to 100 million per year, and teaches everyone for free on how to succeed in business and life. As I've been very impressed with what she has done, I watched through all her videos, podcast episodes, and many interviews, and managed to uncover 5 productivity secrets that both you and I can implement today in order to become as productive as Leila Hormozi. The first secret is to increase your work capacity. Leila works 14 hours a day. And this might sound unreasonable in this age where burnout and work-life balance are very talked about. But instead of work-life balance, Leila has a concept called work capacity. Back in her 20s, when she worked as a personal trainer, it was a lot of hours involved, and soon it became normal for her. She realized that she could adjust to whatever load as long as she was fully on board with it, which she was. As long as we like something or find it overall very meaningful to do both now and in the long-term future, we can work for very long hours. I personally get overjoyed whenever I feel more and more demand, both from day job and of course on YouTube. That's a signal to me that I'm increasing my work capacity. 1 year ago, I was writing primarily short articles every day, and then I was relaxing 3 hours afterwards because I thought I needed to recover from all of that in order to be able to write the next day. But now I prepare usually between 1,000 to 2,000 words a day, so I don't need to relax as before. This also ties well to the second productivity secret, which is having the goal to be imperfect. If you try to be perfect at all times, you might think that 14 hours is still reasonable. But Leila removed that need to be perfect. She realized that as long as she just showed up and had the intent of being as imperfect as possible, no matter the feelings, it was all good. She mentions in one video that instead of productively procrastinating, which was often the case, she wanted to productively fail instead. Did some experiments, and whenever something did not work, and those move faster that way. And also realized that this need to feel perfect, need to feel good, or else we won't do anything because we are too scared of that. It's the biggest enemy to productivity. And we can do so much with this imperfection goal. Like for instance, when I started to write on the bus, I quickly realized that although it's by objective standards one of the worst places to write, to me it's actually one of the best, because I'm on the bus anyways. I might as well use my time there. And now we mentioned fear a couple of times, so let's go directly to the third productivity secret, which is befriend fear. Even though Leila seems quite fearless in the videos and talk stuff like that, she admits that she's still terrified sometimes. But she tells him on her latest videos that by trying to eliminate fear, it actually makes it stronger, because it creates more and more aversion towards the experience that might be good. So Leila did the opposite approach of befriending it instead. She treated it as an old friend or a dog coming out from the purse to play and show off and stuff like that. And this acknowledgement of fear is so important. If you do not recognize fear for what it is, it's like the entire world shrinks. I can say it myself, as I've been a very fearful kid in my childhood. The more fear we have, it's like we have not any options other than trying to avoid this danger that we are not even aware of most of the time. The same also goes for thoughts and feelings. We should not eliminate them, but instead realize that they are just blips and signals and most probably suggestions in the brain. The fourth productivity secret Leila has is clear communication. Leila is a phenomenal communicator and a perfect people picker, and also the actual CEO, since she runs the company while Alex is writing books. She defines communication in a way that I never heard before, but sort of opened doors for me. According to Leila, there are also 4 components of clear communication. To improve communication within the company, you want to look at these 4 parameters. Let's say for energy, find the optimal cadence for it. Let's say weekly meeting, monthly meeting, or so forth. And engagement as well, just realize that the more opinions I have, the better, because if everyone says the same thing, then all the other people are redundant. Emotional control, we already talked about. And then the exploration part, the more you venture outside and see what can be there in other domains, try to understand how they work, then you can incorporate some practices into your current domain. I remember a year ago when I was very interested in this manufacturing and the way they did it, because I saw some parallels between how they did it, how they shipped goods and did their conveyor belts and stuff like that into productivity. No one is pretty much looking at manufacturing these days, that you could gain some unfair advantage by broaden your unique perspective. The last one, which might be quite contradictory to what we talked about earlier, is having a low tolerance. You want to set a high bar and then be able to adjust your environment and people according to how well they support that want. Both Leila and Alex also deployed seasons of no when they stated that whatever happened, they will not accept it. And this intentional, somewhat contrarian living, that's probably what sets the Hormozi power couple apart. So here comes the action step for you and me. In order to increase work capacity, just do more, way more, because you will get used to it. Second one, whenever you feel you cannot do this, or you could require something to do this, pride yourself in going up and seeing yourself very groggy but still doing it, because then you give evidence to yourself that I can still do it. I don't need to feel my absolute best, but I will still feel my absolute best afterwards because you've done it. And third is befriending fear, and there will probably be a separate video coming out because I'm trying to really understand what's going on. It has to do a lot with self-imposed threats. The fourth one is clear communication again, all about setting an established cadence, then listen to them, be very clear what you want, but also recognize your own emotional patterns, and also be curious because you can incorporate many unexpected stuff into what you do in order to be more and more different and better. Fifth one, more about saying no to everything else, about saying yes, and no one should ever stop you from get what you want. And if we do all this, we can be as productive as Leila Hormozi. And as always, I'm interested to see what you thought about it. What did you learn, especially from Leila Hormozi's videos? And by the way, you should definitely subscribe to her, both YouTube and podcast. And Leila, if you happen to watch this, I'm very impressed what you are doing, and keep doing the amazing work, showing us what is possible, and overall very big inspiration. And to you, the viewer, thank you so much for sticking around, and always remember that you're the most amazing human being alive.